Welcome everyone to episode 210 of the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, recorded on October 27th. Happy Halloween, 2022. I'm your host, Mark. Regrets from my co-host, Mino. He is under the weather. I hope you're all staying safe. We got COVID, we got RSV, which is a type of cold most of us get and don't know it, but it's become much worse because we've all not gotten sick the last couple of years, and flu season all going. We got a tridemic happening, and who's not looking forward to a good tridemic? So he's a little under the weather, but we are not abandoned. We are not alone. We have some great friends with us. First is the TCC intern himself, Poteau Cedar. Poteau, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, Mark. I'm glad to be back. I think this is my fourth time on the show. I'm not Netlord's levels as a premium guest yet, but I'm working my way up.
Thank you. And we're also joined by a new friend.
I talked a little bit early, but yeah, for sure. So I've got my own channel on YouTube, and I do Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, and I do Dokkan Battle. So if you play both games, it's a great channel to get both experiences. I've been kind of specializing in character guides. These default characters get quite complex, so I like to do very simple, easy to learn guides just on how to play the characters. And I also host the Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle podcast over on 5-9 Gaming. And it's kind of nice to be a guest for once and not a host. So that's kind of cool there, right? So I'm very happy to be here. Big fan of the show. One of my goals when I started my channel was just maybe one day I'll be on that podcast. And here it is. My dream has come true. So happy to be here with you, Mark.
Yes, we're happy to have both of you here, Poteau and Joe, with us. And thank you, Bob's in the comments. Thank you for your thank you for your love on the videos. And sorry I didn't get that October guide. I hope you pulled Renoa. She's awesome. We're going to talk about all that here today. A little bit of back and forth about just general news of the day. We've got a lot of stuff that we've covered since our last time together, because we've taken a couple weeks off. I had some family stuff going on. Thank you all who have wished well and good vibes and thoughts and prayers for my daughter. She's doing well and home and recovering, and so I appreciate all of your good energy with that. And so it goes. But we do have a Halloween event that is ongoing. Just kind of the standard bonuses, login, panel rewards, all that kind of stuff. Your standard bugs. And we have tons of new costumes. So since the last time we've met, we got Renoa's really weird holiday Valentine's costume with the special ultimate weapon gloss with the little cherubs floating above her. You also have a Aerith dress costume to go with the Tifa dress costume, and we also have Halloween weapon glosses. One of them is new. I think the special ultimate weapon one is new, but we also have tons of returning costumes and tons of returning weapon glosses. Just overload. If you're trying to collect all the weapon glosses, you probably needed to pick and choose because there's just so many. I know for myself, I got Renoa. I got her weapon gloss. I got Aerith. I haven't gotten any of the Halloween ones yet. I've missed those to the point. But Cedar, anything just about the Halloween event or the costume just injection this month? What's your take on those things? Do you just skip that stuff entirely, or any of these you really like?
Always for cosmetic stuff, because as long as it's not like a pay to win type thing, I just love any type of cosmetics. But personally, I'm free to play. I always say whenever I'm in a better financial situation, I'll buy this, I'll buy that, and I've been saying that for years now. So I might as well just say I'm going to start buying stuff when end of service gets announced.
There you go. Joe, how do you approach that side of the game? And there are any of these that you particularly like?
Yeah, so I am known to buy a good costume or two if there's a character I like. I'm definitely willing to go in on that. For the current characters, I actually wasn't too inclined to buy any of these ones in particular. and even Tifa who came out. Like some of them, I just really like the original outfit, so I don't really want to change. I'm a sucker for Final Fantasy VI, so I think I bought every Final Fantasy VI costume. That's my favorite Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy VI, best Final Fantasy, right? Such a great game. Weapon glosses, I've never really been turned on by the weapon gloss, and I think part of it for me is like I really like showing off my BTs, my FRs, my Ultima weapons, there hasn't been a weapon gloss I'm like I must have. I think the closest one I pulled the trigger on was like the Moogle Fist. I think that's just hilarious. Tifa punching with twin Moogles, but in terms of the campaign itself, it's just always nice. Like Defoe's good about rolling around regular campaigns. One of my favorite parts about campaigns is just getting the ×2 on all the crystals, especially when your crystals get low from upgrading or refining all your spheres. I like the free multi-draws, all that stuff. So yeah, just being in a campaign is awesome. Love all the events, but these particular costumes haven't bought any, but I will buy a good costume if I like them.
Yeah, who wouldn't love this Renoa costume with the terrifying cherubs behind her? I put that up on screen if you haven't seen it. The one cool thing about this costume is her wings change color. So when she does the angel wings in-game, at the actual fights, they are a different color. They're kind of a purple or pink wing. That's kind of cool. I don't know that we've had other costumes that have actually changed in-game effects, but her wings are different colors. So, but it is a weird and ridiculous costume. But I bought it because Renoa is my favorite character, and I have all her costumes. So
Mark, if I can jump in for a quick second, I just noticed something. So the twins use unique weapons. So you could bring out the twins, and we could make it a goal to get the most characters on the screen at once. You can have the twins with the 2 cherubs, and then when they get their FR, you can have an FR character come in with the twins and the cherubs. Let's get 5 characters in one slot. I think that should be our goal.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
There's also Yuri and Shalinka.
Yeah, Yuri and Shalinka too. I was just thinking about that. Like, how ridiculous. How many characters can we get on the screen at once?
Yeah, that's too much. That's too much.
There we go. They each get their own cherub. See?
Yep.
They're proud parents. Proud parents.
Yeah. Well, and that's fitting in game, in universe. They each have their own little thing that I don't know the name of because I have never played that game. And I don't feel bad about that. So, but I know it is a great game and a lot of people do like it. So, well, hey, Redbeard's here. The party can start. Woohoo! Hey, let's talk about characters. We have a lot of characters. I'm gonna actually scroll over to the nice banner that Poteau Cedar spends so much time making for these different slides that I always forget to do. So as you can see, we have 4 characters to talk about. We're going to talk about, if either one of you want to talk about Golbez or Garland, go ahead. They got their C90s and reworks, but we already have them. We kind of know what they do. So I just want to stick to the FRs for most of my conversation. And let's start with the one that you cannot pull right now, except for her BT. Her FR banners are gone, unfortunately, but that is Renoa. Man, Renoa has had a kind of torrid history here in Defo. She was kind of good and then stopped being good and then kind of got good again and then not so good. But now she's back. She's got a BT and she's got an FR weapon, and she's become just a ridiculous magic damage dealing powerhouse. If you're not familiar with her BT effect, it's got all the bells and whistles, but the big thing, it gives her 6 charges of a brand new modified HP attack that does up to 9 dumps, huge brave gains between each hit, just massive damage. Her FR also does massive damage because if you just kind of run it with her, she increases damage when she does magic brave damage on her turn, when the active member has a special effect on, and when the active member is under 100% of their health. And so she can jump up hers over 80% every round and go right into a BT phase, use 6 versions of that Ultima Wing, and just melt bosses. So we've had 2 just crazy damage dealers. Tifa, the melee damage dealer, Renoa, the magic damage dealer, Tifa single target, Renoa AoE damage. So I mean, we can dig into whatever, but she's just stupid powerful, stupid broken, special weapon. So a lot of you already have ultimate weapon for that. You probably don't need me to go on. I mean, she's literally my favorite character. I got my Renoa right here. She is my favorite character in Final Fantasy. Period. But she's ridiculously broken. I'm super happy. Cedar, what are your thoughts on Renoa?
So at first, I was really debating on who is the better damage dealer, Tifa or Renoa, and like I kept using Tifa. I'm like, no, there's no way Renoa can beat her. But I finally got Renoa's BT on this Arden banner, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see what the hype is about. I fully built her, and I've converted. Renoa is just the better damage dealer. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of Tifa simps out there, and redirect your hate mail to Mino because he's not here right now. But Renoa, in my opinion, is the better damage dealer.
Well, she's doing AoE damage, and I think that's one of her big, her big pros. But the damage output is just so ridiculous. I think there can be some debate though. I haven't run them back to back to kind of see who can bump up that, but I think she tends to bump her own gauge up a little bit higher than Tifa. So that damage gets a little bit bigger. Thank you, Indolent Lard. Everybody check out our good friend Indolent Lard. Tree Void and Soraya the Ranger subscribed earlier. Indolent Lard says, Crevasse, no whip code. Hello, everyone. Joe, what are your thoughts? Again, if you haven't checked out Joe Wags on YouTube, he's been doing guides for all these characters, so really good work there. So what are your thoughts on Renoa, Joe, and what's your experience with her?
Renoa melts enemies. She blows up fights, makes them very, very easy. Renoa, to me, like, her timeline in the game is kind of like a sandwich. She started off as like a top tier DPS. I remember on her original drop, brave damage plus AoE damage like together was very rare. It's kind of like that thing that because Renoa dropped before Aranea. So like it was before that power creep, and when she was just dropping HP pluses that were just AoE melting, like that was insane. So I feel like she was pretty insane when she first dropped, and then she was very mellow in the middle, like not that great, like up to the top again. What I would say in this, Renoa Tifa debate, we talk about this a lot in the Dokkan community, but like I don't know why people always feel the need to like constantly tier list and rank characters versus each other. I think characters should be ranked on like tier levels, but not versus each other. So if you told me Renoa is better than Tifa, I would say sure. If you told me Tifa is better than Renoa, I would say sure. But the way I would rank them is they are on, like, in terms of DPS characters, Renoa and Tifa are on a separate tier on the very top on their own. And then any other DPS, you could talk about Tidus, you could talk about, Terra, whatever. They're going to be on some tier somewhere down below. But they are both tippity top tier DPS characters. And I think, as was mentioned earlier, basically whichever one's going to do more damage is going to depend on how many enemies are in the fight. I'd say if you got 2 or more enemies, Renoa's more often than not going to outdamage Tifa. If you're doing single target fight though, Tifa is going to outdamage Renoa. So I would say that they're both very good top tier characters. I advise most players to pull one, if not both of them. Obviously, you don't have that choice now, but they're absolutely insane characters. And then something that Mark brought up earlier about when you use the BT effect, and that's how he gets that powerful HP plus, which is what Renoa has. But Renoa's is not tied to the BT buff. It's just you use her BT and you get 6 uses of it. It's very similar to like how Lena gets her special HP attack, just so people are clear on that. But yeah, Renoa's busted. She melts enemies.
Yeah, you definitely, you can maximize her damage by hitting her BT and then having her BT effect active during her BT phase. And then she's fairly self-sufficient. But if you have enough support behind her, you can pop her BT and then have those 6 uses whenever you want them, which is nice. Very, very nice. Like you said, I think that's a great point. As Martyr reminded us, and so maybe we'll do it like this. I'll just have one of you do this. Every week when we talk about FRs, we have a little segment where I make Mino tell us why these two are paired together. So Poteau Cedar, why are Renoa and Yuna FR partners?
Go the easy route and just say that they are both the heroines from their own game.
Here's the real reason, because they're my 2 favorite characters right here on screen. They are the only 2 besides, of course, Edward. the Spoony Bard, the only 2 Final Fantasy figures, and of course all the figures that are behind me here that I have. But these are real old. These are old play art figures from Squex. These are official Squex, but these are like from, you know, the early 2000s. This Renoa and this Yuna. But I will say this animation and the next animation, the Aerith animation. No, actually the Belthier animation too. Those 3 FR animations are really, really good. Like the Renoa animation is awesome. The Aerith animation is awesome. The Belthier animation is awesome. I hate Arden. I don't hate Arden, but I wasn't impressed by his animation particularly. It's okay. But I really, really like these 3 animations quite a bit. So, well, hey, thank you. Let's go on to, so Joe, you're going to be on next, the next FR pair, just to give you some thought here. Let's move on to Aerith. Aerith comes back with a fancy dress. And beautiful dress. I bought her her costume. I think I got her up here if you haven't seen it in person, the red dress, if I can find her here. If I can scroll, I can't do that. Why am I not scrolling? But yeah, Aerith comes back with her FR. If you're not familiar with Aerith, she's your base healer. Oh man, I'm terrible at sorting here. Let's just go to Final Fantasy VII. Why is sorting so hard? Here we go. She's your basic support, battery healer, magic attacker. Of course, she has the prevents the enemy from debuff, that what's it called, planet's admonition. And she gets an FR, and Aiko is going to be her partner. So I'll when we get to Joe, make sure you tell us why Aiko's her partner. It heals the party, and hers fairly simple to upgrade. Her damage increases based on using a Transform Braver HP attack, which covers a lot of characters. Or if an ally is batteried on the turn, or if you battery an ally on the turn, if she does it, it's 40%. If anybody else does it, it's 20%. So if Aerith takes a turn, generally speaking, you use her Seal Evil, Seal Evil HP attack, and that batteries the party. Well, maybe that doesn't battery the party. I think it does battery party. And it can increase fairly well. You just got to be careful. So it's not the hardest condition, but it's also not the best condition. But Aerith's pretty solid. Man, I pulled her. I have all these FRs fully upgraded. The 4 that we're talking about today. I don't know how many times I would use Aerith or even use Aerith in the party, just because, you know, we're not really at a point where you need a lot of you need a lot of healing and battery, but her debuff is still really good for preventing enemies from buffing if that's an issue and you really don't want the enemies to buff. Other than that, you know, she's just kind of a solid support character. But yeah, Poteau, what are your thoughts on Aerith?
Honestly, I was surprised on the damage output of Aerith. Like her HP plus, is it triple plus now? Yeah, it's triple plus. Just turns out so much damage for all the support that she's giving out. And the Seal Evil debuff, just the fact that, you know, enemies can't buff themselves, I think out of supports, you almost can't ask for somebody better unless you're doing like no turn comps, where at that point you just be, you know, doing a cane in the air or something. But you know, I really enjoy Aerith. I can't wait for her BT that's been released in JP, and I'm definitely going to be pulling on that. Joe, do you have anything to say about Aerith?
Yeah, Aerith is I think a very good solid support character, and my theory on characters like this is I would rather have more support characters than DPS characters. I think DPS characters are a dime a dozen, and as we're seeing with events like Crevasse, you're going to need a big roster. So if you're like a newer player or a mid-range player and you're looking to build up a roster, I think Aerith is an extremely nice pickup for that. Sure, Luna Freya's a better support. You know, some could even argue Garnet's a better support. Like, there's good supports out there, but Aerith is a nice pickup, and she has a very, very easy to use force effect. every character in their mom does a transform HP attack. Literally, HP plus counts as a transform HP attack. Does not have to have a special name. Battery on turn. A bajillion characters will battery on turn. So she's a very flexible FR, and she's a really great one if you want to build up your account for lockout events. I really, really like that. And she is doing she has a lot of longevity because you're mostly pressing HP pluses. And the way she protects and batteries the party, the battery really helps you push your FR damage too, especially if you're comboing with a selfie launch. And you keep that battery capped out on launch, you're doing a ton of damage. So I think Aerith is a very good. I would say I don't know if her banner is still up, but I would say of current characters, she's like the best support you can pick up right now, for sure.
Joe, why are Aiko and Aerith partners?
Mark, this is a very simple answer. Simply that basically Aerith keeps Aiko nearby because when Sephiroth comes to kill her, Aiko can instantly revive her with her LD effect.
Oh, that's a good, that's a good reason. That's a good reason.
For sure. I mean, I would keep Aiko next to me if I knew I was supposed to die from Sephiroth. So
yeah, I'd probably just die. I'd just take the loss at that one if it meant not having Aiko around. I imagine, little kids, they're kind of annoying. I think they live with them.
I think they data mine Final Fantasy Remake the new episodes, and Aiko's going to be in the game, so maybe Aerith will survive this time around.
That's how it happens. That's how it happens. That's how it happens.
That's right.
Again, as we move on, TonberryTroupe.com for all the infographics. You can also check out the podcast polls. I won't dig into those because we have got a lot of banners. But thank you, J.A and Quetzalma, for that. We'll come back to those next time we meet, and hopefully Mina will be back with us. But TonberryTroupe.com, of course, beautiful infographics. Renoa, thank you. Good work. Cell, I think Cell's here. Tell was around. Good job there. Hey, thank you, Randall, for the Prime sub. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate it a lot. Well, let's move on to the leading man. Again, this is just a whole month full of favorites for me. And the leading man, Balthier, of course, range damage dealer, dispeller, cleanser, support character. I've always liked his kit. He does have the unique ability to steal buffs from enemies, but he can just cleanse buffs over and over again. He has an FR, and his FR partner is Cid from Final Fantasy VII. Here's the reason: Cid and Balthier. I mean, you might think you know what it is, but I'll tell you the truth. Both are notorious racists. Notorious racists. Cid, I just assume he's racist. I don't know that for sure. I mean, just kind of look at him, you kind of figure he's probably racist. And of course, Balthier is involved in the slave trade, so that would make sense that he's a little bit racist. So that's why they're paired together. It's just a different world that they live in than they come from. But his FR, when he triggers it, it's really cool animation. I love that animation. Cid and Balthier doing their stuff. He steals buffs, he removes, he cleanses all the buffs, which actually I think is not as good as it should be. I think it shouldn't cleanse all the buffs. I'll tell you why. Because his damage boosts are range damage, 20%, fine. Attack a target with no buffs on turn, 40%. So pretty much anybody who's doing range damage is going to do 60% damage up, easy enough. But if you remove a buff from an enemy, it jumps up 80%. So the fact that you remove all the enemy's buffs before you trigger the first time does kind of suck. But if you are using Balthier's FR on the few enemies that constantly rebuff, you can hit huge damage numbers with his FR. So that is kind of cool. But again, there's only going to be a few times that's really going to happen. But when it does happen, it's big, stupid damage. And it's really easy to build a range team around Balthier. So Poteau, Cedar, what are your thoughts on Belth?
There's not a miss this whole cycle. I think Balthier is super good, and I feel like they showcased his potential perfectly in his fight. I've seen people go up to easy 900 FR gauge and just massing out the damage. He could be doing a little more damage, but I suppose you're not bringing him for the damage. I don't know how important it's going to be in the future, aside from his BT event, that you'll need to steal somebody's buff or either dispel the enemy, but it's something that I guess our JP players could give a little insight towards. I personally don't know, but I've been enjoying him. Like, there's not a character this month that I was planning on skipping, honestly. What are your thoughts, Joe?
So Balthier, my character guides, I refer to him as a buff debuff manager, and he does those things very well. And these are skills that not a lot of characters have. So for that, I think he's good. He's a very utility character. I would argue that Balthier is a more skippable character. And the reason why is, as you said, he looks really good in his fight, but that's because they really gear the fight towards him, so that enemies are constantly buffing. They're putting a super nasty poison debuff on you that's really, really bad, right? And obviously for his FR, they're constantly rebuffing so that his FR can keep getting his gauge up. But if you think outside of this fight, how often are enemies buffing that aggressively? How often do they have debuffs that are that nasty? So Balthier is a great character when the fight needs it, right? But the question is when you're spending your resources, how often will you actually use Balthier, and how much is he needed? Which is why I would argue Aerith is a much better pull for you. She's so generic, fits on any T comp, very good for Crevasse. Now, if you have a bunch of resources you like Balthier, he's not bad by any means. He is a fantastic character, as Poteau said, but the situation needs to call for it. So I would just say be wary of going all out and pulling for Balthier if you don't have the resources to do it.
Excalibur reminding us that you can put Vanille Sphere, I have 3 or 4 of them on myself, extras, on off-turn damage dealers to trigger that 80% bonus. So that's a good thing to know. And Carflow does remind us that it cleanses the entire party of debuffs. It only removes 3 debuffs from the enemy. So depending on the number of buffs on the enemy, it will stay up there. Hey, Retro Gamer Dad, how you doing? So, yeah, great points. I do agree. I think definitely skippable, but still pretty fun to play. And when he works really well. So, as there are several characters. But right now, yeah, Aerith is kind of, for the current support, on the current banners, really, really quite good. And after talking about how I was going to do the banners, I forgot to do the banners. There we go. We're up to banners. And that leaves us with our final surprise kind of FR. Arden came with Crevasse. Arden. If you're not familiar with Arden, he's a melee attacker. He can take extra turns, free turns when he breaks. He does a lot of instant break, unbreak, rebreak mechanics. He does a little follow-up attack, so he's a follow-up damage dealer. He's, oh man. It's just, as Joe was talking about, tiers of damage dealers. And if you got Renoa and Tifa up here, and like Terra and Tidus right here, I think Arden's lower for a damage dealer. Now, again, there's always arguments when it comes to Arden's damage that, you're not bringing him just for damage. You're bringing him for his ins break, re-break mechanics. Unfortunately, he doesn't do anything else, so he is kind of a primary damage dealer, or a super good tank because he's immortal. So I mean, if you can play him off as a tank, I guess you can play him off as a tank. The weird 3rd slot damage dealer, unbreak, break, immortal kind of character, but he gets a yeah, here we go. He gets an FR, and Leon's his partner because they had some story time together and they're super good friends. So that's fun. But his HP damage condition goes up when an ally breaks an enemy on the turn. 40% if it's him doing it, and melee damage on the turn, 20%, 30% if he's doing it. So really kind of sad numbers, because if it's not Arden doing it, it's only going to be 40%. If it is, again, you can do off turn, but if it is Arden doing it, this is just on turn, excuse me. So on a non-Arden turn, it's 40%. On an Arden turn, it can be 70%. And those are just lower numbers than we've seen. When Renoa and Tifa and Aerith are doing 80%, he just, that kind of sucks for him. And so, yeah, his even fully maxed, and I have him fully maxed, green, blue, ultimate weapon 5/5, FR fully maxed. I don't have his Jesus costume, so maybe that's why mine sucks. It's just the damage output is just, it's good. It's just not compared to the other damage dealers that we're seeing. So that sucks for Arden. But if you really like the mechanic and you can play around with other characters to help get those extra rebreaks up and let him run his damage up, he's doing fine. Poteau, what are your thoughts on Arden?
Arden's okay. I do think another reason why him and Leon are partners is prior to their respective game, they were both homeless. So I hear.
Yeah.
So there's also that, but I really like some of the Arden's changes that, like, S1 now rebreaks.
Yeah.
At the LD also rebreaks on every target, so it helps bring his stats up a lot quicker. But yeah, I feel like he's falling short. He's falling short on a lot of his damage. But unfortunately, like Joe was kind of saying, there, as Tifa and Renoa are like top of their game, there has to be people that just fall short. So Joe, what's your thoughts on Arden?
Yeah, I think Arden's just a character that came out at the wrong time. I think if Arden came out a month and a half ago, he would have been looking a lot better in terms of damage. I think what Defo needs to do is they need to lean into his unique mechanic a bit more. So his big thing is that he's immortal. The problem is it's, and that seems super busted, right? Like, oh my God, he's immortal, but the rest of your party is not immortal.
Yeah.
And powerful enemies do powerful all attacks. And he does nothing to protect your actual party. I don't know why they don't do this. As Mark mentioned, talking about him as a tank, he's not actually a tank. Like, he tanks himself. He's a selfish tank, if that's a thing. But he needs a lock mechanic or he needs a cover mechanic. If you give him a lock or a cover mechanic, then there's a lot more use for this guy. But right now, he's just a mid-damage dealer that can't die while the rest of your party dies. So, yeah, not too high on Arden.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the problem. You can put a lock call on him, but the fact that he doesn't have a lock, so he can't, necessarily direct attacks towards him, and he certainly isn't doing any kind of damage prevention or anything else to the party. So solo Arden, yes, that is, we have seen solo Arden plenty of times before, but yeah, it seems to be a just bad timing, as we said, just a little too late. But that being said, I have him fully maxed because he was useful in Crevasse for getting max score, which you don't need to do, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Let's as we transition, before we talk about Crevasse, several things going on in the community. Again, CSAM, thank you for the subscription. Just subbing again. 39 months. CSAM hanging out with us for 39 months. Really appreciate that, man. Good to see you. But yeah, there's been a lot of going on in the community. I know Poteau has some insight on that. So Poteau, anything you wanted to share from the community? What's going on in the DeFo community?
Yeah, sure. First, I'm going to share some good news. As everybody from TCC would like to celebrate and wish a happy marriage to Mr. and Mrs. Raw Life, got married over the weekend. So if you're not familiar of who is Raw Life, you probably haven't seen the live stream that streams every Monday. Him, Lartanian, and Leafblade Mouse do an amazing job. Aside from that, I feel like Trevoid and Eamon are still doing a really good job with their MTV challenge. The community has really felt like a whole ever since Greg said no to Dare to Defy. So Trevoid and Eamon have been doing a phenomenal job kind of doing it for their own, and Sinewave has been helping out with graphics. The only other update that I have for the community is, unfortunately, one of the Godfather himself, 40 the Broadway Sand, has said that he is no longer going to stream DeFo contents. He is still going to play the game, but he's going to focus on other games for his streaming and his content creation.
Yeah, so thank you, Poteau, for the community spotlight there. Sorry, single people out there. Raw Life is off the market. Don't slide into his DMs. He is unavailable. He is married. He's living in married bliss. You know, most DissidiaFFOO content creators are spoken for. Sorry. You know, there's still a few left, but most are single. So you know, you're losing your opportunity. And so Raw Life's off the market. And we do. Thank Eamon and Treevoid for the MTV challenge. That's join our Discord. You can join that and have some fun with that. They've been enjoying that. And it's been a fun part of the community. And again, 40 still streaming, still making videos, but not going to be doing DissidiaFFOO content anymore. So shout out to our good friend 40 the Broadway San, the godfather of DissidiaFFOO. Him and Josepher were two of the first people to actually start making content and streaming the game. Even before the game came to global, they were making content for global and guides and trying to shout the game out and build that out. So I think there were some JP folks before them doing the JP version of the game, but for the global version, they've been around the longest, and we were not too far behind them. But it's always sad to see one of those go. But he is, I think, still going to be on with Rez and Lids when they do their monthly fireside chat. So assuming he's still playing that, he'll do that.
Yes, he did confirm he's going to still do Fireside.
Yeah. So while we're talking about content creation, Poteau, or I know you do some content creation, and then Joe, is there anything you want to talk about? Share yourself, things you're doing, things you want to highlight that you've found interesting here this last month or so, or you're looking forward to doing in the future?
Yeah, I just want to say in general, I've really enjoyed doing YouTube. I've been doing it for about 1.5 years now. And like I said earlier, I do Dokkan Battle and Opera Omnia. And I got to shout you out, Mark, because I've been a fan of your show, you know, for quite a long time. And I remember I was literally a virtual nobody with like 30 subs, and you like commented on my first Tifa LD pull video. I'm like, oh my God. And like, just what an impact that makes just to have somebody like so big in the community just comment on my video. It made me feel like I was somebody, even though I was a nobody. And then just all the positive comments in the community. People comment on my videos and just like, they love the stuff, keep it up. Like, it's generally mostly positive, and really it's the community that keeps me going. And I just really appreciate the community. And I have a Discord that I post all my videos. So if any of you want to jump into my Discord, I really love people. Because I'm a teacher, right? So I love teaching people. So I love helping people with team building. I love doing these character guides and teaching, but a lot of people come to my Discord for like help with team building on DissidiaFFOO and Dokkan Battle, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm not like one of these content creators that's like silent, like in these Discords. Like, I'm active, I'm in there. People tag me all the time. I answer them. I even have people private message me, and I kind of say, all right, keep it to the thing. Like, I can't just take all these, but I respond. I talk to people. So no, just the community has made everything so great, and I feel very blessed, and I've very much enjoyed it, and very happy to be a guest on your podcast, Mark. Awesome. The one official podcast, yeah, right? The one official. The official.
Thank you, Joe. And yeah, we'll make sure we include all the links for Joe and Cedar here with our video, and they probably already are on there as well. But yeah, hey, is it a good time to get involved in Dokkan Battle? I mean, we're going to be talking about, you know, end of service for DissidiaFFOO. Is this a good time? Is this a good time to start playing Dokkan Battle?
You know, it's always a good time to start playing Dokkan. But if you're someone that really wants to capitalize, I mean, Anniversary and Worldwide are the two big celebrations, and we just finished those up. But Dragon Ball superhero stuff is actually coming to Dokkan. We got the Gammas literally dropping like tomorrow.
Oh wow!
And then Dragon Ball Hero stuff is coming, and we're looking at probably maybe Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo coming very soon. So Christmas, Thanksgiving, it's always a hype time.
I enjoyed that movie quite a bit, so maybe I'll.
Oh, it's very good. The Gammas
are
great.
Yeah, jump on the bandwagon here.
Yeah.
The only unofficial. It is also the only unofficial podcast. Correct. Correct. Hey, we got a supporter quarter question. Poteau Cedar puts these together every week for us. What kinds is so if you want to be a member, if you want to sub, become a member on YouTube, you can join our Discord and link up to this. What kind of new bundle paid service would you like to see DissidiaFFOO implement for you to buy? How can DissidiaFFOO get your money? So Cedar, Joe, think about that as I read some of the community comments. Sleuth says Jegrin swimsuit. I think that's a good sell. Red Cane says early skip tickets. That's going to be a thing for co-op. So early skip tickets. Eamon says 6 times books. Oh, 6 times books. That's a good idea, Gaiman. Final Yin says Ultimate Cores. Yep. Or skip filler content. Nidre says Dare to Defy, except you have to pay real money to unlock it. Yeah, I'd do that. I'd pay money to have Dare to Defy. Lita Freya says Crevasse, but you have to pay to get more conditions to reach max score. I'd do that too. Bishop says Nidre's idea is exactly what I was thinking. JD Terraforce says useless item exchange. Oh, that's a good idea. You can take armor, books, ingots, etc. and turn them into tickets or something more useful. BT mats, like, right? That'd be awesome. This is Frog, I believe. Cap raise on resources such as skill enhancement points. Also pay to make the end game easier, so free to play truly gets the discount. Blind Eye ticket cap increase. Pay to increase your ticket cap to 2,000, 3,000. That would be. Oh, I could see them doing that. It's like, Pokemon Go, where you have to pay, to increase your inventory. You pay to increase your ticket cap. That's a great. They should do that. That would make them so much money. People hoard in this game so bad. Indolent Lart says Amaret costume for every Fist character. Every Fist character has an alternate costume where they're dressed up as Amaret. That's how I take that. That would be great. Anal Manor, new side game monthly pass will let you keep daily rewards even if you skip them. Hey, that's not bad. Seriously though, packs that come with a extra ultimate weapon refund. That'd be interesting. Stray Breed says premium Moogle plus get 10 ticket draw daily and monthly Kubo card. Oh, that'd be nice too. And Soraya says Moogle Pass that gives you quest rewards while doing the bare minimum. Pay to win. Poteau, anything that you could think that Squex could implement that would make you really, really sad that you are free to play?
Yes, well, first I'm going to shout out Dystopia Bard in the chat. He says he will pay for a new tactics character. I don't think you'd be able to throw money fast enough to Squex for them to even consider that. I don't think they're going to ever bring us another tactics character.
No.
But my idea is almost like a raid event where there's a goal where the community all chips in to try to get this goal. And when you get to the goal, we finally get end of service.
Yeah. That's where we go.
DissidiaFFOO starts.
Joe, any thoughts on things that could pique your interest when it comes to in-game purchases?
Yeah, I think if you buy the Quistis alternate costume, it should unlock another bundle where you can buy her glasses for her 3D model. So the 100%. 3D model can actually have the glasses on.
100%. Yep.
That's what we need there. But in all seriousness, I want a bundle with 4 stones and high power stones, please.
Yeah. Ooh, I think this Quistis glasses, that is very serious. I would say
why not
99.99
that you can put on characters like if I want to buy Arden's hat and put Arden's hat on Leon because that's why they're buddies. Leon just wants a cool hat, right?
Just needs a better hat.
Yeah, exactly. Or if I want to buy Eris ribbon and put it on another female character, why not? People go gaga for accessories.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for your answers. Again, you can check the Discord, and if you are a Twitch sub or a YouTube member, connect your Discord and those accounts, and you will be accessed to that magical TCC supporter channel, and you can answer your questions. So, Poteau, any thoughts about what next week's question? Have you already thought about what next week's question, like a spoiler? We don't usually have you on here to give us spoilers, so do you have thoughts about what next week's question might be?
No. If anything, I may take inspiration from a certain podcast question that we're going to answer later.
Awesome.
But I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I thought you might. That's okay. Well, hey, we did get an event. We had lots of events. But we're not going to talk about them because who cares? Because the event that we do want to talk about is Crevasse Hallowed Depths. And as you can see, I haven't even touched the token challenge, but I do have max scoring Crevasse because I am not a bum. I'm not going to come on a podcast, the officially unofficial official podcast, and not have max score on Crevasse. You damn straight. So if you're not familiar with Crevasse, this is a global first event. I believe they are getting it in JP finally, but we've had it in GL first, where you have various different fights. I think we got 7 fights total. You get to then choose different codes, kind of like Abyss style, that you can get different score levels depending on the codes that you choose. If you want to get max score, you have to have the best codes or the biggest score codes on the most difficult challenges. So, you know, it's the 3 times weapon type, 3 times color type, and then on the 2 Shinryu. And then there are Shinryu force counters and then Lufania orbs that also give you extra points. So there's 1 Cosmos because I don't know why. There's 1 Chaos, there's 3 Lufanias, and there was 2 Shinryu fights. Just to go over the 2 Shinryu fights, you fight 2 Defender Zs. These are the robots, the Rubits. Their big thing is that's a little different than Shinryu's we've had before, is their force gauge increases very, very quickly. So they get their force gauge up very fast. So if you're bringing characters who are not fully force enhanced, you will be out force gauged consistently. And so I will record again. There's something going on. There must be something going on with Streamlabs that caused the whole computer to crash. That's not good. Oh, that's not good. But hey, we're back. We'll let everybody go and back. But yeah, so that's kind of the basis of Crevasse. I don't know when we jumped out, but I think we were talking about Crevasse. When did I jump out, guys? What was I
think
talking
you're
about?
talking about the Defender. You're talking about the Defender Z fight.
Yeah.
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 How they outcharge you.
Yeah. So yeah, they outcharge you. Their big thing, if they get their max force time, is they will regenerate HP. Which if you don't have enough damage, they will heal up, and that's a real pain in the ass. They do pretty good damage though, so you need to be careful about their AoE attacks and everything else. The other fight is the Death Gazes. That's number 7, and they can be a pain in the butt because they do a lot of big HP attacks. They have some, I think, some resistances. Excuse me. Yeah, they have the big debuffs that they can constantly put when their thresholds. They put HP poison on you, and Brave gain down and turn rate down. They get turn rate up and speed up for themselves regularly. Yeah, they start ignoring HP damage mitigation. They do extra Brave damage as they get more powerful. Yeah, when they hit 100, they ignore all Brave and HP damage reduction, and they have consecutive turns and free turns and kill you. Yeah. But you can kind of get around it with like Setzer Call, Raging Call, a lot of different things that are easy to kind of mitigate there. But they're fairly challenging fights if you try to go full 3-3 teams. If you're not concerned about that, and you don't have to get max score, of course, to get all of the rewards. I don't know quite what, I think maybe 225, is that what you need for all of the rewards? But you certainly don't need 442. I think you only need 350 if you don't care about the like 9 tickets.
Yes, 350 is all the meaningful rewards.
Yeah. Yeah, so 350 for all the meaningful rewards, and yeah, then it's up from there. You can get 9 more tickets, and then, you know, max scores 442. But yeah, so I'll just pass it to you guys if you want to talk about any of these fights in particular. You want to talk about the event in general. So Poteau, kind of what are your thoughts on Crevasse? How have you taken it? What have you done? All that kind of stuff.
I have not 100% done Crevasse yet, but just like I've been doing the teams that you've been seeing everywhere, like the triple green, triple unique with Renoa, Cam, and COD. The same ones you have on your screen. I'm just trying to. I don't have Arden greened or blued, so that's my biggest issue at the moment. The one thing I'm most thankful for Crevasse being here is hopefully Beast Black Cloud will remember what Crevasse is this time. But
yeah, it's not Equinox.
it's not. It's not Abyss.
It's not Abyss. I probably could not have told you what Crevasse was before we had
just
this.
Just like teasing like DC. But to me, any original content is a win for me. It doesn't matter if it's Abyss, Equinox. To me, if it wasn't in JP, it's a bonus. Joe, do you have anything to add about it?
Yeah, I'm a fan of anything with lockout because I love events that get me to dive into my deeper roster more. So for example, on one of the Shinryu fights, I broke out Cater, and I really love Cater. I think Cater is an underrated character. She force charges, she dodge counters, very very fun character. So I had some little fun with Cater. Now I have to redo some of my so I've beaten it all, but I have to redo my Shinryu fights because I kind of forgot to put the code on for the force time, so I lost a bunch of points that I could have gotten. So I get to, I'm making my own Dare to Defy. I'm going to do those Shinryus twice, right?
Do them twice.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about Dare to Defy later, but I would say Crevasse, it's not my favorite event out of like the lockouts, but I still really like it because it does have lockouts. The one thing I wish, and I know they do this intentionally because they want you to use certain characters, but I wish all the weapon types had codes. Because there's so many times I wanted codes for like Fist or Dagger or something. Or, if you really like Rydia and Quistis and you want a whip code, like just stuff like that. I just wish there was more codes for weapons, but I get why they limit you because they want to sell you the new characters and they want to use their weapon types, right? But overall, it's a very fun event and I very much enjoyed it.
I think there's a couple ways to do. Now you can choose whether you do your green specials or your yellow swords on 6 or 7, and potentially you could do green sword, yellow special. There's some variations if you want to try to do the 3 and 3. That being said, obviously if you're trying to do the 3 and 3, for me I did Renoa, Cam, Out of Darkness, I did Arden, Ramza, and Bart's. Much easier if you have them all green, if you have the FRs for at least one of those characters, and if you have their force gauges all the way, their force enhancements all the way taken care of. So Destroth, Excalibur's got good infographics, of course, on Macnel's website. Also on Twitter, and Excalibur has their own YouTube as well. But on our information page or information channel on our Discord. And Destroth has a good guide for how he did it and kind of walks through the different setups. I shared mine. You can come on our Discord. We have a whole thing that Poteau set up for Crevasse. You can see how everybody did it. You probably do, if you have questions like how somebody used a team. Calls really do help in some of these fights. Like I said, against the Death Gazes, Setzer's call is a huge win. I actually brought Lena's call to avoid getting the debuff, so I didn't have to worry about that. But did anyone do Black Greatsword? I'm not sure that I saw. Well, I did Black Greatsword on Lufania. Cloud, Zach, and Gladio are the Black Greatsword. I don't know that I've seen anybody do 3 and 3 on the Shinryu, so I'm not sure that we have a. Do we have a Black Greatsword FR user at the moment? What would be Black? Let me.
I can look too. Let me see.
So Greatsword. So that is one of, you can do 3 Black and 3 Greatsword. Yeah. So I mean, you do have Garland, Squall. You have Zach, and Caius and Jagran as your BT plus. Orin and Gladio. So you have a lot of tanks.
Yeah, a ton of tanks.
I don't know that I've seen on the Shinryus 3 and 3 with the Greatsword. I would think the damage output would be tough. But I because the death gazes don't care about mitigation, I'm not sure that the tanks will be able to overcome it. So
I think the
there's
so
no
I did try a
FRs. Yeah,
tank
there's
comp,
no FRs too, so that
right?
makes it tough.
And I tried a tank comp on Defender Z's, and they can't keep up with the healing,
Yeah, the
especially if you don't have
healing's
an
tough.
FR.
Yeah.
You can't keep up with their healing.
Bosch is an option for the yellow sword, but again,
Yeah.
the death gazes kill him, and the Defender Z's he's not doing enough damage potential to out damage them. So yeah. But yeah, that's why there's two for the green and the yellow. Yeah. There's only 2 Shinryus, and then you can use the other 3 and 3 on the Lufanias. The Lufanias are, Lufania is kind of a joke at this point. Even if you don't use, like, that's a Lufania that I didn't use an FR. If you bring any FR to a Lufania or a Chaos, it's immediately a joke. It's one shot. For a Chaos or below. I think for Cosmos, you just hit the FR button and the boss is dead. Chaos, you're not getting 2 or 3 turns into an FR because you start with the FR gauge. But Lufania, it's, even without FRs, but with level 90 characters with BT pluses, Lufania is just not particularly challenging. So just kind of some general discussion over Crevasse here. I enjoy having different content, so I'm glad we have this content. It's nice to have JL exclusive content or JL first content that JP didn't get. It's good to have extra content, so I'm never going to complain about that. It's not my favorite content. I actually like D2D more, and I like Equinox. I think Equinox has really been my favorite of the special contents. I probably like Abyss a little bit more than Crevasse. The one thing I'll say about specifically, and I have some other people input here, but the one thing I'll say that the one reason I really like Dare to Defy more than Crevasse is because Dare to Defy is kind of over an entire month, where Crevasse was really just a couple hours of my time. So Crevasse is really an event. And so, yes, there are 7 stages, but it's really just 2 stages, and then you figure out the rest pretty easily. But it took a couple hours for me to beat Crevasse. Whereas D2D was kind of extended over an entire month, kind of made you feel like there's constantly extra content, something to do. Whereas this is, I played it for a couple hours, and now I'm not going to play the game really again for 4 or 5 days, which is fine. Like, that's not a problem. But in terms of just the amount of content. But a couple folks have some input here. I already mentioned Excalibur and Destroth, but they have some comments that I wanted to share. Excalibur says, I like the code mechanics. It's fun building it around and encourages a wide use of roster and characters. The overall concept, I think, is good. The only thing that could potentially rebalance the stage levels to fit the current meta, just really talking about they're not challenging all of them. So Destroth says, in terms of fun, I think Crevasse is more fun than D2D. Planning the crystal and weapon, and for the veteran, we can push the score further, which is fun. But D2D honestly should be permanent event, easy to implement, and added difficulty for veterans. So thank you there. And I do have one more from Trevoid. Trevoid prefers Crevasse over and prefers Equinox Abyss, I believe, over D2D. And so I wanted to give Trevoid a moment here. Trevoid says, the core of my preference for events such as Equinox or Crevasse compared to Dare to Defy is that Dare to Defy is something that can be self-imposed. So we can do Dare to Defy on our own pretty easily, while the other campaigns require developer involvement. Well, there are some benefits to having D2D with official implementation. We can have the gameplay experience simply by doing the self-imposed challenge. Crevasse and Equinox provide us as players with new experience that we can't get otherwise, and in Crevasse's case, force us to use teams that we typically would not use. I acknowledge that this is arbitrary. This restriction on units won't be for everyone's taste, especially those who really enjoy the amount of player expression awarded by the Force era. However, I think diversity of play experiences fine change of pace occasionally, even if the implementation is a bit heavy-handed. For those advocating for D2D to return, an issue that will arise, and I think this is a great point, is that we get further into this era, is that most of the fights will not match the level of our roster, and we will continue to grow said roster over time. A return to D2D will not be the same as the first one, where we had incentive to pull, since we have much better, we have more FRs, etc. For people who aim to acquire the max score in a system like Crevasse, however, there's a very strong incentive to invest in units you weren't planning to invest, like Arden. Crevasse, to me, got me to purchase a BT and a high Power Stone bundle to max Arden. D2D would not have done that, getting me to pull for units that I would not have otherwise pulled. I consider a sign of a good event. D2D doesn't have that impact anymore. I will say this, potentially against that argument, that end argument. I think with the elemental lockout, yeah, J.A says, Trevoid says his things would be short. Well, they were somewhat short. Concise, that's concise. Potentially with elemental lockouts, it could be very challenging. A D2D could be very challenging. I think there would be months D2D would not be challenging at all, but with some potential elemental lockouts, that could be very challenging. We'll see. Yeah, but no, I agree. As Mino says, Trevoid's opinions weren't terrible, and I agree. I think they were very good and very valid. So that's my opinion, and that's some other content creators. But Poteau, what are your opinions on? Did you like Crevasse? Crevasse versus D2D. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, in kind of like to iterate what I said earlier, bonus content is bonus content. Like, in a perfect world, I think we should have Dare to Defy every month. And I think it would be amazing if we could just have an event that would combine Crevasse and Dare to Defy, because for me personally, the biggest fallback of Crevasse is that there's only 2 Shinryu events. If all 7 fights were Shinryu difficulty, I think that would be way more of a challenge. It would be a lot funner to just easily put, okay, I'm going to do my 3 crystals and 3 weapon types on the hardest difficulty because that's giving me the highest point system. It would be a lot funner to mix and match where you're putting each unit, because every fight would be more tailored towards a certain unit type. And I think that diversity would be amazing. So I really think I'm personally in the camp where Dare to Defy is the better event, but they could both be improved upon if Squex would listen to the community. But that is unfortunately the biggest issue. We know they like to steal from Trevoid. So hopefully Josh is over here reading that essay that he made you read on stream. But I just want the game to succeed is the final point. Joe, what are your thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, I really like Dare to Defy. I like Crevasse and Dare to Defy because, like I said, content, like you said, content is content, but I love lockout content. So lockout content's even better for me. I think with Dare to Defy, I think it hit some people wrong at first. And what made it so challenging was that it was at the beginning of the FR era. So you almost had to be pulling like every banner to like really keep up with it. And that made the event seem really greedy to players. And that was like the big complaint, was that they said it was a very greedy tactic, right? So I want them to bring it back so players can see what it's like when you have a larger roster of FR weapons. And as Trevoid was saying, that yes, it's going to get easier because we have more FR weapons. I think that's a good thing because it's going to bridge the gap of the people that hate it, but then the people that liked it will still enjoy it. It's still good extra content. And as Mark mentioned, they can tie it with lockouts and still, it doesn't mean every FR can be used, right? So you can still somewhat limit, still encourage people to pull, still have more FR options, because something I've shown in a video is you can power through elemental lockout if you have the right units. My ultimate defense comp is what is it? It's Gladio, Core, and Gao. And I crushed that thing on an elemental lockout because of just pushing the gauge up and all the brave gains. It's kind of crazy. So I like D to D, and like Poteau said, I wish it was just every month and it was just always there. And if people want to do it, they can do it. And people that hate it, you don't have to do it. It's extra rewards. Remember, guys, any new content, any exclusive content, that is all rewards on top of what we normally get. So I don't know. You can't complain about extra rewards when, I don't know. It just drove me crazy that some people were complaining about Dare to Defy so much and they want it to go away. And they're literally just taking away free rewards. Like, if you don't like it, you don't have to do it. So anyways, I don't want to get ranty. Like, we ranted about that in the past, but I love Dare to Defy. I want it. Bring it back, please. Please, please, please.
Well, thank you, and let us know what you think. Again, I like this event. You didn't have to do max score, but it was a little pull to win if you wanted to, or more upgrade to win than pull to win if you wanted to get max score and make sure you had all those BTs, which I did. Yeah, you didn't have to do that to get it, which is okay. But yeah, let us know and continue to talk about it, and that's good. Hey, some podcast questions for the day, and now let me jump there. Yeah, podcast questions. We did host discussion first, but let's do some podcast questions. Infamous Element asks, I'm going to save Blartanian's original one for Mino and myself. Now that we've had quite a few FRs, which do you consider the best and worst FR? So I'm taking that just as what's the best FR in your opinion? What's the worst FR? So I would say best FR in my opinion is Renoa. Self-sufficient, huge damage up, easy to use, etc. The worst FR I would say is Kane's is awful. Kane's really good. His FR is garbage. Poteau, what do you think?
I will 100% agree with you on the worst FR. Kane's is, like, especially looking at today's standards, pathetic. I really hope that when he does eventually get his proper rework in JP, that they'll fix his numbers because he needs it very badly. But for me, the best FR up to date is Cam FR, because I know everybody has just done the Cam cheese for the first 3 months, right? That's what everybody's been doing, right?
Yeah, well, Nidre, I know specifically. Is Nidre still here?
He'll listen back to this and he'll be happy. He'll be happy for the name drop. Joe, what are your answers?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kane is a pretty obvious pick for worst one, and obviously as the first FR, it's the weakest. Pretty much, I would say anything that came out before Cam are in the tier of the worst, because Cam's basically glitch brought all FRs to a new level. So anything before Cam is going to be your worst. And then, when you're looking at like Tifa and Renoa, like, yeah, you can say they're the best because they're tied to the best DPS characters and they allow them to do more damage. But I would like to shout out like Aerith and Aroha, just because they're so basic and easy to use. I like them as very flexible FRs, and I think there is some value in that as well. So I would shout those out for really good ones.
Great answers. Yeah, we already talked about this, I think, in terms of Rivik asking about the events, but he does have a follow-up question. Are there any FRs you regret missing, and why is it Desh? I do. If I had Desh, I could have used him in this event. I don't have him. I really regret having Desh. Poteau, is there any FRs you regret not pulling or not having at your disposal?
Currently, who am I missing as an FR? I am missing Desh as well. So, as usual, RVK never misses. But I'm gonna switch the answer around and say my most regretted pull was Kane's FR. I wish I didn't pull that FR and maxed it.
Yeah.
What is your worst opinion or worst FR, Joe?
So I don't think I have an FR that I regret not getting, because I pulled very heavy on FRs early on, and I've pulled all the characters I've wanted, and the ones I've skipped, I've 100% known what they do, known that I'm probably not going to use them that much, and I was okay skipping them. So I really have no regrets, and I can't even regret the old bad FRs because at the time they were very good, and I really needed them for the original Dare to Defy. So I really
100%.
don't have any regrets either way.
Yeah. Very good. Very important question from the shock jock of Defo, Raw Life himself, Mr. Raw Life now that he's married, he's Mr. Raw Life. Who is the best person in the community and why? Obviously, our moderator with the most J.A is the best person in the community because he's the scariest and you don't want to get him upset. Who is the worst person in the community? I've never been a fan of Elon Musk in Defo community. He's just really full of himself. He's always shooting off rockets and, just a blowhard. Try hard, blow hard. Poteau, who's your favorite Defo community member?
Well, this is a very easy question. I don't even know why Raw decided to ask this, but I am actually contracted to say that Mark from TCC is my favorite person in this community.
Thank you. I didn't pay you anything to say that because you're an intern.
But easily the worst person in this community, and I may not have a camera, but look at me while I'm saying this, because if you're listening to this, not a single person would be sad if you left this game. Not a single person would care. My pick is Gray Plus. If you are out of this community, people would celebrate.
Yeah, no, that's actually fair. Well, I don't know what that guy does with his time, but yeah, it's rough.
Puts his phone down while he's in co-op.
That's pretty much what he does. He must have an extra phone that he just uses to troll people on co-op. Woo, ouch. Joe, any favorite community members?
Well, Poteau stole my thunder because Mark, you were going to be my pick for my favorite member of the community, but I will pick an alternate. And I'm going to shout out Cross 13 and Blind Eye. They're members of my Discord, and they make it a better place, and I enjoy having them in there. And my least favorite member of the community is every member who hates Dare to Defy. Get out of here. We need Dare to Defy. Get out of here, you guys. Come on.
Bad players.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's not my fault they have a skill issue. Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
So we got one more question. Crush. Given that it will take 2 or 3 years to finish giving everyone an FR, nearly 100 existing characters left to give FRs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, do the hosts see themselves staying around that long? Yeah, I mean, I hope there will be some other types of weapons before that, before FRs. I hope for something else, obviously, or the game will get a little bit stale, but it's not. Whether I'm making content for the game is a different thing. Obviously, I've backed off myself just because of life. I've got just a lot going on right now. A ridiculous amount of things that have happened here in this last year in my life personally, but all good thing. Not all good things, but all good where it is, right? But the game doesn't really take any time, and I love the game, and I love Final Fantasy, so as long as the game's around, I'm not gonna drop Defo. I drop other games all the time. I'm not really playing any other games besides Defo and Pokemon Go right now on my phone. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna drop Defo anytime soon. Cedar, what do you think?
For me, I'm not gonna drop it anytime soon. I'm having too much fun, not only with the game but with the community. I've never been a part of a gaming community like I have with Defo. Everybody's so amazing and welcoming, and it's just unbelievable how we just see everybody from every walks of life, and we just come together to enjoy this game. Which afterwards, this is actually a really good transition to our next question. But first, I'll let Joe answer.
Yeah, I'm never gonna get sick of Defo. I literally started playing on launch, and I don't think I've actually missed a login. And the thing for me is like, if you love a game enough to create content on it and pour countless hours into, say, a YouTube channel and streaming, like you've got to love the game. And that's why, like 40, like if 40's not enjoying it anymore as much, props to him for streaming what he wants to play. So I'm always going to do content on what I love, and I love Defo and Dokkan, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And as Poteau mentioned, part of what makes Defo so awesome is the community. I've never seen a gacha game, and if you think about like on the level that Defo is, it is not on the level of, say, a game like Dokkan in terms of popularity and downloads or whatever, but the community is just as strong, if not stronger. I'll say this, Dokkan has one podcast and I host it, but in Defo, we've got all, in one official podcast as well, but we have like pseudo podcasts, like all these other shows that people do because they love the game so much. And that just is a shout out to the community. So yeah, love the game. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, we have a disproportionate amount of content creators for a game this size.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that is true.
I thought Dokkan was competitive, and wow, look at all these Defo content creators.
And that's okay. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I really think that's it for the night, and so I want to thank all of you for joining us. Thank you for jumping back on after my computer crashed unexpectedly. Always love that. Seems to just be my life, I guess. I want to give you guys a minute to kind of, how do we get a hold of you? Anything you want to shout out? But hopefully we'll be back next week. Squeck's community stream is this Monday, Halloween. So hopefully we're going to hear good news about what is to come next month for the pre-holiday holiday season. So, Cedar, how can we get a hold of you? What are you doing online? What do you want to share today?
Best way to get a hold of me, join the TCC podcast Discord. I'm always on. I don't mind if you tag me for a question in our general help section, or, if you just want to chat, just bring it to off topic channel and we'll have a good time. But I also I'm trying to get back into it, but I also do stream on Twitch occasionally, just nothing in particular, but that's usually my life. I'm going to shout out, as Joe mentioned, all the other talk shows every day of the week. Like you have the light stream on Monday, then Historia Crux. I see crosses in chat on Tuesdays, and then either the Tree Void Hour or the Ranting Hour on Wednesdays, the Amazing Podcast on Thursdays, and unfortunately nobody's really taken the mantle for Fridays, but I don't think we need it.
I think sometimes Fireside Chat, which is once a month, sometimes does Fridays, but that's different times, different times depending on when they do it. So that's once a month.
Hashtag still not a podcast.
Not a podcast. Joe, how can we get a hold of you, and what are you on the internets?
Yeah, so just on YouTube, look up Joe Wags. I'm pretty much the prominent Joe Wags, all one word, type it in, you'll find me. And I'm the place for Dokkan and Defo, and if you really like the simple character guides, I host the Dokkan Battle podcast over on 5-9 Gaming with some pretty big name Dokkan content creators. I've hosted with Garesh and DeTruth and like all these big guys. Fun crew over there over at 5-9. So check out 5-9 Gaming for that. And then on Twitter, I am SpongeBob Joel13. Yes, I am a SpongeBob fan. If you want to see me interact with Defo, retweeting some Defo and some Dokkan stuff, pretty fun on there. So yeah, that's basically where you can find me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw my Discord here in the chat. Join my Discord if you need team building help on Defo or Dokkan, or just want to chat. And I am active in there, so you can actually interact with me. And I'm going to try to stream more. I did one stream and it was a lot of fun. I had 60 people in the stream. Loved it. It was fun. I'm definitely going to stream some more. So hope to see you guys there. I'm enjoying it. Thanks, Mark, for having me. It's been a pleasure. Very honored to be here.
Well, thank you both for stepping up and being willing to come on. I appreciate you taking time off your Thursday night to share. And thank you all for joining us. I will hopefully be able to make this a podcast. We will see how that works. It's a little, when the video file gets corrupted, that's a little bit more difficult. But it's on YouTube right now and on Twitch. And hopefully I'll be able to salvage that and do my magic and get that up on the podcast, but might be a little bit late. So, hey, this has been episode 210 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded October 27th, 2022. Happy Halloween, and we will see you all post-Squex community stream next week, hopefully with Mino and myself, bringing you all your DissidiaFFOO news and talk. Until next time, friends, good luck. Goodbye.